Call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, September 6th. Good morning, agenda session. I'm going to get Mr. Darrell Fork to say the pledge, Mr. Terry Beard to say the prayer. Would everybody please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in praying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Okay. Go to number 3, presentation from the Cameron Lions Club.
Good morning. I know on every occasion that we possibly can, we always thank you for your ongoing sponsorship and support of our fishing festival. Our fishing festival allows us to do many, many endeavors on behalf of the parish, the students, any projects that we can help with, we're always happy to do that. In fact, our next one's going to go on, we're going to host the reception after the courthouse dedication, and we're looking forward to that. We can only do all of those things because our festival is so successful, and that is due to an enormous part with your support, and only with your support. Not only the financial sponsorship, but your incredibly professional and responsive employees that help us in many different facets. So on behalf of the Cameron Lions Club, our second vice president and fishing festival chairman, Mr. Tom Barrett, would like to present a plaque to you. And we have several members in the audience of our Lions Club. If we could, y'all could join us maybe in a picture. That'd be.
stepping down. Come on, gentlemen.
In the picture.
I waited too late.
Yeah, you have to look through the yeah, that.
Okay.
So no, you don't have to run.
No, I don't. Does anybody else know how to work one of these?
Good thing Rick is taller than you.
Okay, I think I got your grade here. Is it?
Wait, Ryan's here.
Ryan, hurry up.
Oh, no.
I gotta do another one.
Run to get the picture.
We were trying to get it without you. Almost got it without me. Technical difficulty.
Yes, she started so,
I see y'all, are you gonna be able to crop this one?
Oh, we can.
That's 2019.
Because I can see the reflection in the, I'll take a few more.
Got it?
I want her to take it.
I was walking off on a
That's
All right.
okay.
You didn't get one that counted in the first
Did it actually
Always. Like I did.
Oh, what I went.
You need to find it, actually. Yeah, I was mistaken the way you don't have to. I'll let you.
I've been shopping out all my clothes.
Oh, that's all.
Just file.
All right. Let's move on to number 4, Mr. Logan Pruitt, income control, general liability, commercial auto, and workers' compensation.
Good morning. Good morning. And just to let Logan, y'all should have the quote sheets for the Louisiana companies for the general liability and for the BFIS policy. So,
Both of these policies, we have anniversary dates of September 15th. I'm going to briefly discuss the VFIS, which covers all of our volunteer fire districts, which I think is roughly 20. We have them included in one program. We split the premiums out by fire district. Stable program. We've been with them for years. We have competitive rates. In a nutshell, I'm recommending that we stay with the current carrier, same company, and the total premium went up 1.98, just under 2%. 2% change. It's pretty cut and dry. I could sit here and go through the details, but they have the premier insurance program for volunteer fire districts. And we can't do any better. My recommendation is stay with what we have, same deductibles, same limits. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions about it. Otherwise, I'm going to touch upon the casualty program that we have for the parish, meaning our liability coverages, which we've been with Travelers for a number of years. I'm going to recommend that we stay with Travelers. The excess workers' compensation coverage, we are self-insured up to a certain point, and it has been a very successful program. Let me put it to you that way. What I do from time to time, and I did it this year, is go out into the marketplace and said, if we go buy full insurance, if someone gets hurt on the job, we turn it in, $1 coverage, we pay $400,000. What we have been paying on average for the last 5 years, and actually I could go back further in 10 years, by buying excess workers' compensation coverage, by hiring a third-party administrator to handle the claims and the loss control. For the last 5 years, we've averaged $146,000 a year versus $400,000 for fully insured. We're way ahead of the game. Always have been way ahead of the game. Sure, we have a little claim. We have claims from time to time. Currently, they're all closed, which is good. That's what we want. Basically, the structure of the program, I'm not going to make any recommendations. We see a little bump in premium, which that's the market. This is not based on our experience. Our experience has been good, but for instance, the auto market. The auto market in Louisiana is tough right now. It remains tough, and we see a little bump in premium, but I sat down and figured we're paying $1,182 per vehicle for liability coverage. $1 million. That's a good rate. I mean, that's dump trucks, that's pickup trucks, heavy, medium duty. Anyhow, basically, same carriers, same program, same providers. We're seeing, in this case, a $21,000 increase, which represents 7.6%. It's still under market conditions. And my recommendation is stay as is. Don't make any changes, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions that someone might have.
Yeah.
no, let me just acknowledge something. I mean, over the years, Logan and his staff have really helped us because this policy, it covers everybody. It covers the waterworks, it covers fire districts, with the BFIS, but, the drainage board. So this is so we see that, and this is prorated and broke down. Each district gets, they pay for part of this coverage. But, Logan, I just want to mention that recently Miss Tammy Miles retired, but I just want to mention her because she really helped us over the years getting all this kind of set up, and Logan and Louisiana companies have really helped us get this organized to where we know you know, they know where the drainage boards and the fire boards, and they work with them directly, so I just want to acknowledge that. They help us, and I agree with Logan on this recommendation.
Anybody have any questions?
Good.
Anybody do with it? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. And that is on the agenda for y'all's acceptance of those both recommendations.
Number 5, Kevin Savoy.
Good morning. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time, and we're going to be brief. But in your packet, you should have a copy of our annual report that we recently put together. It covers July 1 of 2018 to June 30 of 19. That's the fiscal year for the state. Anyway, it's just sort of a highlight of some of the programs and projects that we've been involved in and that we have involved Cameron Parish citizens with. And I'd like to say before I get into any of this, we appreciate all of your assistance and help with projects. You got a great staff here. They're very helpful. When we need things, we call them, and they do the same with us. But we got the same staff as we've had for several years. Nothing's really changed. I work Sea Grant programs, which entail fisheries, aquaculture, coastal land management. We make lots of herbicide recommendations for forage crops, lawns, you name it. And I do a lot of that with coastal land management as well. Some of the highlights of things I've been involved with recently is we sort of see long-term trends in this Salvinia weevil stocking that we've done for years now. It's a lot of help of big local landowners. And what we see is these big boom and bust cycles. We see giant Salvinia everywhere, covering up drainage ditches, clogging laterals, and I know you're spending money trying to spray those at times, and you have to, but you can't wait on weevil for 90 days to take it down. But out in the countryside where you just can't spray everything, it's just not affordable. Those weevils work. They're sort of a long cycle, and they take it down. Then we see big stands grow up, and then they take it down. What we're hoping is, over time, and it may be a long time, that we don't see those big peaks, that it sort of levels off, and there's just a manageable level all the time. So that's what we're hoping for. A couple of other things is our oyster season is about to open, and we've had a 55% increase in oyster stocks in West Cove over last year. And we've got a 50% increase on the east side of the lake over last year. So we're still below the long-term average, but it is an improvement. Especially when you compare it to the rest of the state, some regions are down as much as 90%. Some coastal study areas east of the Mississippi River. A lot of that's due to the heavy flooding that we had all winter and spring long. So we're looking for a good season here. We should have good prices because the stock are so low statewide. The other thing is crawfish production acreage is up, and we see that locally in Cameron and Calhoun parishes as well. That's driven by market demand and prices. There's some new technologies out there where they flash freeze boiled crawfish, and I've got a picture of it in there. That is actually in Walmarts, and those are going nationwide and even out of the country. So we could see the demand for crawfish continue to increase. I'll let Bradley and Brittany talk a little bit on what they do.
Kevin touched a little bit on it, on the flooding and a lot of massive amount of rainfall we've had this year. Rice harvest right now is just starting to get at that 50–60% harvest mark, which hopefully we hit that in the middle of July, and here it is, 1st September. So rice is still being cut right now due to the amount of rainfall. Coming in the spring, delayed planting, and now also, if we get any more rain, delayed harvest, which y'all know in the past, when we get delayed harvest, the seed starts sprouting while it's still in the plant, which is not good, and the rice is no longer good for human consumption. So that's a lot of rice that's not being put in the market. USDA did release the market facilitation program, or there's some farmers are calling it Trump money, because if you if you had a crop and from last year and tariff had affected the price, USDA offered money or say, President Trump signed off on it to be able to pay some of those farmers from what they were owed from the market, from the crash in the market with tariffs, which is good. That's good for the farmers, but it's also good for the cow producers. Cow prices are down now. It's hitting that fall mark where you start seeing, coming in the fall, people sending their spring calves to market is low. We don't know if the flooding that happened in the northern states, if this is even still gonna affect it. It's still time before we see those cattle actually make an impact. There was some fire at the Tyson plant that supposedly is raising boxed beef prices now. So you will start seeing it in the market. Whenever you go to Kroger, Walmart, Browns, wherever, you'll start seeing a hike in prices before long, which is not good, but it's a smaller plant, which the experts still do not understand why this small plant is affecting prices so much. When you see a $20 jump in boxed beef prices, there's no rhyme or reason to that. Hay production this year was better than it was the previous years with the amount of rain. We got a good first cutting in early May. There was some delay coming to now, but a lot of people are starting to get their second cut in, which is good. Hay stocks are good. There was still leftover hay from the year before, which again has helped producers in the parish quite a bit. This year we did do a school garden program with South Cameron. We were able to start vegetables in fall. We were able to cook it in the FACS program in their class. Kids enjoyed it. This was with the 4th and 5th grade class there at South Cameron. Our district attorney, Jennifer Jones, had provided some funds with that to get some supplies, soil, buckets, and pot plants for us, and we really appreciate that.
I didn't get none of those vegetables though.
Hey,
I thought I was gonna get some of
the
those.
kids ate them all, so, which is good. We want the kids to eat healthy.
Okay.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Sun.
Market price, when's it jump gonna hit the market?
That's the problem. They still don't understand that. We're trying to find other avenues for producers to sell calves to. Kinder's down. I don't know why Kinder's down. You go 3 miles up the road, it's 20 cents higher. Why? We can't figure that out. And it's just one of those, I'm thinking, in my mind is, Kinder is about far south. It's pretty far south. Then you get into Prairieville, which is a little farther south. Prairieville prices are higher than us over here. So wherever their buyers are coming from and wherever they're picking, Kinder's got to figure it out. I know a lot of our producers send to Kinder, and that's been an issue in the past, and we're trying to find other avenues. If you want to go 3 hours further, go to Coshawba, to Rayburn, you can get 20 cents higher. That's something nobody can really figure out. Even the comments when I tried talking to them about it, there's still no rhyme or reason why everything's happening. It's one of those weird years. It's bad, but
With all the producers here, I mean, we really need to look into that to see if we can't get those. I don't know if we can do anything, but we can advertise, put that information out to the people so they know. I see the jump in the meat prices, but I don't see the jump in the market. And that hurts our people, hurts all the people.
And that's been one of the, and we've seen this in the past also, whenever cow prices were really high. But then box beef prices went up, everything else went up along with it. And that's just, for this weird trend that's going on, there's no rhyme or reason for it. Normally you see a pattern, and there's no pattern this year.
Any other questions?
Dr. Bradley, I don't want Mr. Kelly, but I think the little lady could speak.
Yes, of course. My name is Brittany Berg. For those of you that may not know who I am, I'm the 4-H agent. So what I talk about is going to be very different than what they just talked about. I work with, of course, the youth in our 4-H program. For this past school year, I believe our enrollment totaled just under 300 students, which is pretty good considering the number of students that we have. We have a lot of participation in the schools. Our livestock program, we have a lot of participation in that as well. One thing that went up this year, a number that went up this year significantly was our junior leader program. I'm sure, I don't know if y'all kind of seen them out in the community. They do the junior leaders, they actually had 47 this year that were in our junior leader club, which is from when I started just over 5 years ago. I think there was less than 20. So that number grew a lot. We did lose a big class of seniors this year that were very active, but we have a lot of kids coming up that are really excited about it. And I've been here long enough now that the ones that are starting in our junior leader club, brought them to 4-H camp when they were little. So it's really cool that we're able to see just how they've grown and how they're starting to become leaders in their schools and in their communities. For our club meetings last year, for the past 3 years, I've participated in a program that we do with other 4-H agents in the state called a lesson study. So pretty much what that is we actually get together once a month and review. We all teach the same lessons in our club meetings. So we get together to kind of plan what we're going to do for that, teach the lesson, and then we come back and we have, just a call about it, just to see how it went, kind of what worked, what didn't work. And we're also getting feedback from the kids to kind of see what they're learning from it as well. And that's been really successful. This year, we're actually going to be starting doing some science, engineering, and technology lessons, so I have that to look forward to. And then a lot of kids we have, of course, participate in, we had some different workshops this year. We actually received a grant from the Walmart Foundation to teach some workshops on some healthy living lessons. And Ms. Ruby Miller, who was the 4-H agent before me, she actually volunteered and helped us out a lot with that, and we were able to have 3 workshops with the kids where they we had a lot of participation. I believe I think by the last one we had almost 20 kids that participated in that last workshop. So they were able to, I think the first one, they learned about different, I know Bradley helped with some of that as well, actually seeing the vegetables that were growing in our garden and how to cook them and make healthy meals. And just learning different things like that. And then this past summer, we attended 4-H University, which most of you may remember a short course if you were in 4-H. We had 22 kids attend that this summer. We had 2 of our teams win in their categories for their demonstrations. We had several other kids place in that as well. I think about 2/3 of them placed or blue ribbon in their contest, so we were really proud of them. And then for our summer camp this year, we had, I believe, between 60 and 70 kids attend, which was a little bit higher this year for that number. And we just had our club meetings this week, so I'm really excited. I saw a lot of new faces, so we're really excited to get that going for this year and this year's programs. So, thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Ma'am?
Mr. Kevin. Mr. Kevin, I was trying to read as fast as you were talking.
Okay?
I see that they're trying through the Sea Grant, through Wildlife Fisheries and other agencies, the oysters in the bay. Okay. Are they planning on trying, they look for ways to create beds, trying to create replanting the oysters throughout the whole bay, or are they trying to do something in there? Because I guess you can call it they're not commercial fishermen, but they're rod and reel fishermen that bring people fishing and all that. They're saying the oysters are way down. I understand that, but is there something going on for the near future through state, federal, local money, or whatever to maybe rebed these oysters and eventually open it back up for at least the fish can get in there and do it? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, there have been some coast plants put in. The wildlife fisheries tell us we've got a lot of what's called type 3 bottom, which is poured, firm, sandy bottom with some broken shell in it. We've got plenty of area, and we have had it the whole time. When we had a closure in Lower Calcasieu on the east side of the lake from 2011, 2015 or 16 before it reopened, that hard bottom and shell was still there. And we saw plenty of oysters set on those areas. But something was going on that would not let them make it from the little tiny oyster into the market. There was a lot of sediment in that water column. There were a lot of oyster drills in that water column and in that system for a long time, until we had these huge rains starting in 14, 15, 16, and finally drove them out. And now that the resource is recovering somewhat on its own, but to answer your question, yes, there are cold plants being put in, and there are additional ones being planned for the harvest area and some are even outside of the harvest area. So there's a long-term plan that's being looked at and worked on slowly, but you're always at the whim of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You know, when you get these huge flood events like we had this year, up until middle of August, our salinities were 5 parts per thousand and below through the middle part of the lake. So it was just really fresh for a long time. So hopefully we'll have a good spat set this fall, and things will continue to trend upward.
As long as the rain, as long as these rains subside some and it'll turn back like it should be.
Yeah, you need a balance of,
Yeah, yes, I know it's hard, but,
yeah, you have to, you know,
okay.
at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Kelly.
Any other questions? All right, thank y'all. Appreciate your comment. All right, let's go to number 6, the food
Think I could
truck
speak
market.
about them oysters, in the lake,
I
they passed for.
think we're still working on some things on that. I know, Kenny drafted something up for us. I don't know if we're all in agreement with it or if everybody looked at it.
Whatever changes you want to make, just let me know. I sent this July 18th. I haven't had anybody ask me to add or take anything out to it. So I think y'all haven't decided whether you want to, what areas you wanted to apply to. I mean, do you want me to summarize what it says now? Or?
Yeah, you know, one of my concerns, and I'm just one of those 8 guys, is on this side of the river, I don't want to hurt our local businesses with a food truck or anything else on the beach or something like that. We've got a few local restaurants here now. I know on Holly Beach, it's such a long drive to get to the restaurants and stuff like that. So, you know, I thought at one time we talked about, you know, doing a little trial period on Holly Beach and leaving Rutherford Beach off and running for a while and see how it worked out, and we would go from there. I think in the ordinance, you got as far as Rutherford Beach also.
Well, I mean, y'all can decide where you want it to be. Mr. Doxey asked me to include Rutherford Beach, so I did. So y'all can vote on that. Now, one thing I did not include, which I believe Miss Mary reminded me of, was that you had talked about making it seasonal. You know, like it was only going to be maybe from April to October, or I don't know what y'all want to do on that.
Yeah, we've got some stuff done out yet, but we're trying to do a different ordinance together that we all agreed on before we went to that. One thing we want to make sure that everybody understands, temporary, if things don't work out, cut it off. One issue that I do have though, is the snowball trucks that we talked about and ice cream vendors, things of that nature, being associated to a commissary in the parish.
Right.
Is there a way we can?
That's in there.
Okay.
It says that any temporary food service vendor must be, let me see, that's in there. They must be, I think for the ice cream and the snow cones, they call it a depot instead of a commissary.
Okay.
But it says in there they have to have their depot or commissary located in Cameron Parish.
Well, for the sake of it, what depot, define that as far as it's gonna be to
I'm sorry?
them? Is that gonna be one place they can go?
Well, with the way the sanitary code is, the sanitary code requires them to return to their depot every day to do whatever they need to do to make sure that all the health code is satisfied. So that's one designated place that they have to say. It's someone, anybody who has a kitchen approved by the health department can be a depot or a commissary.
Yeah, but I don't think that the snowball dad's gonna have a kitchen approved. They have to associate themselves with somebody that does.
Right, and the food trucks do too. They have to be associated with a commissary.
The food trucks, I understand. We're not trying to change
Right.
the food truck, but the snowball should be a little separate than that.
Well, that's a requirement of the sanitary code.
Of the health department.
Yeah, the health department.
But they have to,
Right, they have to dispose of everything that, I don't know, it's not at a certain temperature, but they've got all these regulations in the health code. that
That's the
say-
health code, that's nothing to do with that.
Correct,
That's the
you know,
health.
correct. But I would just say one thing that's in the health code is it requires them to have a depot or a commissary. So what I put in our ordinance was that that depot or commissary had to be in the parish.
Yeah, fair.
Is that gonna allow anybody to be able to come and serve if we don't have somebody in the parish?
Oh, well, I think anybody who, like I said, anybody who has a health department approved kitchen can be the depot or the commissary.
We don't,
But you don't get into, you know, when they come, if they want to be here, they have to have their permit from the health department, okay? To get that permit from the health department, they're gonna have to show that they're associated with a commissary or a depot.
but we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, either if you want, you can keep the commentaries within Cameron Parish, or you don't have
Or
to.
you just don't put that in. You can do, and now, another option, which I talked to one of them about, must have been with permitting, that, you can just say, anybody who's approved by the health department and gets an occupational license tax can do what they want. And then, you know, y'all need to get into it.
The snowball thing's a little bit personal to me, but they're gonna be creating snowballs, they're gonna have to be certified by the health department to be able to do it in the first place.
Correct. Correct.
So I don't understand the commissary part for them, I mean, because,
But that's not anything I can do.
yeah, I understand. I
It's in the
understand,
health.
but it can be for hours, we wanna not have that listed in hours.
Well, to be honest with you, we really don't need to, I think it needs to be listed if you want your commensaries to be located in the parish.
Yes.
Right.
If you don't care about that, then you don't have to put in the depot there.
Well,
But they're gonna have a depot to get approved by the other.
In a perfect world, we have all that in Barry, but that's why we're having this conversation now. We don't have it. I mean, and the people that are associated to it don't have it. I mean, a snowball is not gonna have a kitchen or someplace to go to, that's approved for, business.
I talked to, Craig Boudreaux, was it Craig Boudreaux has one in Lake Charles, and he has a depot that he goes to. They
Yeah,
take his-
Cameron Parish?
No,
Lake
he's
Charles?
done it in Lake Charles. And so,
Would you do me a favor?
What?
Would you, get the definition of that depot, what they exactly mean by that, and then
okay.
have it send that to me? I'd like to.
Okay, now, but what do y'all want me to do to change what I've sent so far? Do you want me to add something about seasons? Do you want me to, make a different area designated, or?
I thought we was in agreement, just Holly Beach, tried it out.
Right.
Then if it worked out, then we would see about moving it or whatever we would
Okay,
do.
do you want to make it just certain times of year?
Well, I think we discussed the, like some of the, holidays coming up with long weekends and stuff in Holly Beach area, what you're talking about, so.
Like Labor Day, but it's.
Labor Day, Memorial Day.
I think it would be feasible for the local people to have a 6-month term.
Right.
That's pretty much what the summer festivals and all fall
And
in.
the date to start, stop, 6 months, I think is good.
Okay, well, we just say April to October.
Well,
That's 6 months.
That covers
They're gonna
Easter.
do Labor Day.
Jerry, can I address you about this for a second? The ordinance, I mean, in here right now, the way Ms. Jones has it written, is that they still have to get a permit through the jury. So if you make sure it's not as vague as possible, but flexible, because 5 years from now, you might want something in February. If you still make them come back every year and get their permit from you and make it expire, then 5 years from now, you're not changing your ordinance again, you're just approving or denying
I
it.
think that's right, and what we should say, rather than say, you can only do it between April and October, your permit can only be good for 6 months.
Yes.
Or your permit can only last and that way, you have flexibility in the permitting department.
So if someone comes in January, it comes to you just like a building permit, you have the authority to vote no, and then they don't get it. So that way, we're not changing our ordinances every year trying to make sure.
Sounds good.
And you can even set that fee in there and.
And the fees upon, what kind of fees can be assessed? I think they're just a little small fee right now, isn't there?
Well, it's the last meeting we discussed $100.
$100 for the permit.
I would suggest that the first time permit fee to be 100, and then, after the renewal, you may want the owner to report the gross income, and we can take a percentage off that gross income.
That would be, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know the occupational license, they have to get annually.
That don't sound like y'all.
No, sir, but they do have to have that annually as well. So if you don't want the 6-month term of the permit, you could do the expiration of the year, December 31st.
Okay. So that can all be put in this ordinance, Ms. Jones?
Well, it doesn't have, you see, you put in there, they gotta get their temporary food service permit and an occupational license tax. So they're gonna have to do that, and in permitting, they can make whatever rules that they want to for the permits that we will
Y'all
issue.
can do that.
Yeah.
Carol?
Then you don't have to keep coming back and change your ordinance.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be, the permit procedures would be something drafted with the staff. We would have to present it to you, and then as a collective jury, you would approve or deny it, and we'd get something that you all could agree on. And then you wouldn't have to change it again.
Is that what you want?
I would recommend the permit requirements to be in here.
I just got a question on the permit itself. Is there an occupational permit that we have here, and then something else?
There's an occupational license tax and a permit, temporary food service.
$50 is occupational license.
There's
That leave both?
Yes, sir.
Sheriff collects the occupational license tax.
yeah, we collect occupational license, police jury gets 85% of that, and the sheriff's department keeps 15%. But we do the occupational license. And that was a lot of times we'll see our snow cone trucks and ice cream trucks down here, we're used to with no occupational license from Cameron Parish, but they'll have their health permit and their occupational license from Calhoun Parish. So we have to shut them down. The last two, we just told they just can't operate. They in Cameron Parish, and they don't have their Cameron Parish permit and occupational license.
Okay.
And we still gonna have that quote there about, your donation to the,
The nonprofit?
nonprofit organization?
Yes, sir.
The nonprofits are for, let's see, that's up in the first section.
Yeah, so you got First Festival, St. Mary the Lake Fall Festival.
Yes, now those don't have to be nonprofits, okay?
Those are nonprofit, is that correct?
No, nonprofits, you used to have a separate thing about, you could only do it if you were nonprofit, but they regularly have for-profit vendors at these things, okay? So I took that out. It does not have to be a nonprofit. This is for the sanitary code. The sanitary code has different rules if you're gonna be at a recognized festival or fair. So really, all that first section does is recognize for the sanitary code what our festivals and fairs are, okay? Now, let's see, the nonprofit is 1070, so that says if you're not in Holly Beach, okay, you can have a nonprofit food service of any kind, okay? But they have to get a permit and everything.
Yeah.
And they have to get on, okay?
Okay.
So I wanna make sure I understand what you want me to do. 'Cause
So if it's, I think I understand, I think I got it clear. So
I mean-
if we do this under a temporary ordinance, you're in Holly Beach, you went through this whole process and everybody's doing fine, it's doing great, it's all temporary. But you leave Holly Beach, you come across this river, you get over here, you won't get your license revoked and all that. That's what I'm understanding.
This is saying that only a nonprofit can have food service vendors except in Holly Beach and except at the fairs. Okay, so if that's how y'all wanna do it, you know.
You're right, so.
Yeah, but let me get back to your question about.
I know there's some issues at Rutherford Beach, and I don't know all the ins and outs about that, so I can't really talk about that. All I can talk about is Hollow Beach, that's the only thing I know. We won't have them in Hollow Beach, we want to provide services for the people there. The snowball trucks, I still think it's a little area that we treat them the same way we are the food trucks, as far as money goes, because $150 to a food business, not that much, but if it's a snowball, especially if it's a young person doing it, it's a lot of money. So, but for the sake of getting it done, I'll go along with that.
Well, do you want to take out the requirement that they have a depot or commissary in Cameron Parish?
For the snow cone trucks?
Yeah. I mean, well, you can
No, it would
just
say for all.
this,
Just really buy ice and, right.
I
So it's not
just,
no
if
big
you
deal.
want to say they have to comply with all provisions of the sanitary code, okay, then you don't, and you're not gonna say, what I'm thinking of down the road is someone who wants to come sell tacos, and so their kitchen is gonna be Bayak or Brown's or whoever,
Yeah.
you know, so if you just wanna say, we can make the commissary have to be in Cameron Parish, if you wanna do that. Or if you don't, that's fine, I
I
thought
think
that.
on snowball trucks,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with not having a commissary.
All right, so I'll just say that if
Yeah.
a commissary is required, that it will have to be there. Okay.
Yeah, for snowball trucks.
All right,
Yeah, that would work, because snowball trucks is not, I don't know if we have any businesses that have snowballs, but the other thing, we do have a few businesses that have it. Next thing we got?
So the commissary, so the food trucks, you would want the commissary in Cameron. And the ice cream and snow cones does
I'm
not
not
have to
gonna
be
say anything
in
about
Cameron.
that. You're not, they don't call it a commissary, they call it a.
I know, but it's kind of the
So-
same.
But when it comes to the food trucks, that's a state law, right?
Mm-hmm,
You
correct.
can't do it anyway.
No,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a state law that it has to have a commissary.
What happens if we don't get anybody who wants to come? That's some of the problems we got now, of course, food trucks in Cameron and anyplace else. Those who have a commissary in the parish don't want to do a food truck. So we may be talking a lot and not really saying anything, maybe not changing anything, you know, where I'm coming from, with the commissary here. So when it comes to Hollow Beach, maybe this is our opportunity to try the commissary not in Cameron Parish. And if it works, we can expand it. If it doesn't work, we shut it off.
Okay, well, I'll just take that part out.
Yeah, that'll work, a temporary thing, see how it works out, go from there.
Okay.
Why you want to come to Rutherford Beach?
I don't want to cut anybody off.
We trying something.
Well,
Like I said,
what if it works at Rutherford Beach?
like I
It
said,
doesn't work at Hollywood.
like we said before, here in Rutherford Beach, we have local businesses real close, and people can go buy stuff. I don't wanna hurt our local business, we've gotta pay taxes, we've gotta elevate high insurance, when a food truck can just come in and sell it and take off and leave with money, and hurt our local
That's
business.
why I was asking about the non-profits. Because the fellow who's coming in Rutherford Beach is giving it to somebody on the beach.
Oh, I don't have
Is it nonprofit, is it a church?
No.
Probably.
I think you have to put that.
Mr. Chair, point of order, public comment if I may. Point of order, public comment. Public comment wasn't offered,
Go ahead, get a few minutes, come on, come talk.
capital ID, Mr. Chair. Good morning, I'm Dr. Dukey, Rutherford Beach, and it's our stand to oppose any food trucks on Rutherford Beach. I want to remind the jury, you all discussed this last year in some detail, and I think the chair, your points are well taken. The uniqueness of Rutherford Beach is the fact we have commercial businesses right up the road. And you're not going to starve, you're not going to run out of, you dehydrate by the time you get there. Those businesses have been here for a while. They employ the people full-time, they pay their taxes. And to be selfish, quite frankly, for those of us that live here full-time, they're important grocery stores for us. And it boils down to foot traffic. Whatever food trucks or ice cream trucks or candy trucks, whatever you want to let on the beach, has a good chance of taking away foot traffic. And foot traffic is the major money makers for these stores. They're not going to get rich selling gas. So I would oppose any type of service on Rutherford Beach. In fact, they can just run up the road and get whatever they need. In terms of the ordinance too, 1069, I think probably needs to be clarified. Right now, it's any vendor has to be a nonprofit. Is that going to be deleted? If you can clarify that, that'd be helpful. So-
Okay, the temporary food vendors, which will be authorized at Holly Beach, do not have to be nonprofits, okay? Now, 1070 says a nonprofit can sell at any location, including Holly Beach. So if you have the kids want to sell the pizza, they've done that before in Grand Lake, or whatever, they can park there at Boone's Corner and sell the pizza. It's a nonprofit.
And that's 1070 or 1069 you just referred
I've
to?
changed them.
Okay, understood.
Not renumbered them. That's, 1068 is your recognized fairs, 1069 is the temporary food vendors, for-profit food vendors, okay? And now 1070 will cover nonprofit food.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you gonna write that up for us? And
I wanted to bring up another point that
Okay.
Mr. Sonny brought up, because he was talking about limiting the number of permits that can be issued. So I think you should put that in your ordinance, you know, if you want to say, we're only going to issue 5 permits, or 10 permits, or 3 permits.
Sonny?
Now, you'll have to go back and change that, but I think for that to be effective, I don't think that can just be a ruling permitting office. I think that's going to have to be in your ordinance.
You want that on there?
Yeah, for a food truck, no more than 4, good with me.
4?
Over there?
Yeah, now, is that gonna be included with the, like, snowball, guide, or?
Well, if you want, we can say, they have a name for them, what is it, frozen dessert?
So what minute?
No, I'm just saying. If he doesn't show up.
Then, that's what I'm saying, you might get 4 and you won't.
I think they got nice
You
things.
gotta get one permit.
I sweat.
That's Carol.
The same.
You would only be able to have 4 active permits at one
It's all
time.
active permits each individual.
And if they don't come, then
That'll work. So you're gonna, 4 permits per,
Do you want to say 4 permits and 2 of them have to be frozen dessert
You want that like that?
permits? Or,
If they don't show up, then you're up.
I think that's good. The only thing I'm afraid of, just because you get a permit doesn't mean you can provide the service.
yeah.
And that's what, if you just get 2 and nobody shows up.
yeah, the market will dictate who comes and what. If they come,
Yeah.
if you give permits to everybody and 10 of them come and none of them making money, they're not coming back.
Right. I
So
think that's good.
we'll just leave that out.
We'll work with what you have.
okay. Well, I'm gonna take out the thing about the depot or commissary in Cameron Parish. That's the only thing I need to take out. That, and that is in, well, I'll give a corrected copy to Karen.
And also take it out of the beach too.
Yeah, we're gonna just try in Holly Beach and go from there. And if you're gonna write that up for us and get it back to us for the next meeting, so we can vote on this and get this passed and move it ahead.
Yeah, that'd be,
I can get it back to you by tonight, by this afternoon's meeting if you want.
Okay, I want you to get it back, she can get it back to us this afternoon, okay? Put it on the agenda to vote for? No, she said,
no, well, we
you can't
have
work as
to,
fast as you may.
We catch you next meeting.
Next meeting?
That way we have time for one to discuss it.
Okay.
yeah,
And nobody can call and change it, unless they come before the jury. Let's have it where we're all on the same page. I don't wanna call you, I change something, everybody's against it again.
Okay.
But-
And we're doing this whole thing over again.
well, Mr. Dubai, you know, when y'all vote next month, after Ms. Jenny gets the draft, you'll have to advertise, they'll go through a public
Yeah.
comment period,
Yeah.
so anybody will be able to comment on that, you know,
Correct.
good, bad, to add something, I mean, you'll have another process to go
I think
through.
you were talking about something, we're talking about where it would take effect next year. Yeah.
Well, just as a practical matter, because the time you advertise and all that stuff, it's gonna be.
It'll be 20.
Just,
Good deal.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So no food trucks right now.
No,
no, y'all still have, y'all gonna have to act on this ordinance after the public comment period.
yeah.
No law, and go back to the no law and verify that question. If they have an occupational permit, they have a primary permit, they can keep it, right?
No?
No, because right now your statute says you can only have your, not-for-profit, food vendors, and this actually says only at those festivals. So you can't do it now under the ordinance you have now. You need to change
More
it.
strictly, but, I mean, the holiday beach only, so.
No snowballs, no campfire,
All right.
Unless it's down in the church.
Let's build a wall.
All right. All right, get it to us, we'll look at it next meeting and advertise the vote on it, and see what we gotta do to get this thing passed efficiently. All right, let's move on to number 7, the dog ordinance. I talked to Katie yesterday or day before about the dog ordinance. I know we've been going back and forth on different things. I think we need to get a couple of us with the sheriff and the district attorney and Katie and sit down and work on this dog ordinance thing and come up with something and bring it back to the jury, because we're gonna keep going back and forth. And is that good with you, Sheriff? When we, have a little meeting, we'll sit down and discuss the pros and cons and get us something where we can come in and vote on it and move that ahead, where we're not keeping this one calling that one's calling this one. I think they calling Emily and this one's calling you and whatever.
Okay, we've got a problem, the same kind of problem as with our food service ordinances. Right now, we're stuck keeping those dogs free.
Yeah.
So that's what this is kind of designed to eliminate that problem. We have one now, we had, in 1 week, we had 4 dogs, right, Emily, picked up, and 3 of them, the owner bailed them out.
Yes.
Okay? One of them, the guy said, that's not my dog, I was just feeding him. He bit somebody, okay? And so, we've got that dog. The statute we have now does not give us authority ever to euthanize the dog, okay? That's just where we are. So, we're trying to find him a home, which is hard, because he's a pit bull, and I can't get anybody who wants to take him, but I do have a call in to a lady who rescues just pit bulls. I don't think she's gonna take him because he bits him. But you taking care of that dog until we can get something like this passed. So that's one reason why we need to work. And listen, if y'all would like to talk about that, even today, because I'm going on grandbaby duty here in a little while, and I'm not gonna be around, so I want to be able to get with y'all.
Yeah, you can talk what you want. Just limit yourself.
I got a simple question I'd like to answer, and I think it's simple. By law, who's responsible for animal control in the parish of Cameron? By law. I'd like to know the answer to
The
that.
police chief.
We're
It
in charge
is
of
in the
the
statute
enforcement.
that gives your powers to the police jury. Included in that is animal control.
So we're in charge, the parish police jury is in charge of animal control.
Right, and the guy,
Policing, and,
yes,
well, so what's the responsibility, where's the responsibility fall for all the evidence collected? Does that fall back in the police jury's hands? So we gotta go as our savior to court and say that this dog is guilty or innocent or whatever, and
okay, I've tried to write this in and I'll use some in Calcasieu, but what we do is, the dog catcher, the animal control officer is the police jury. Okay, so from here on out, or once we get this done, what I would propose is that when he picks up the dog, He takes a picture of the dog, okay? And I have a form of an affidavit to where if the dog isn't around when it's time to go to court, the picture is evidence and it's admissible to show this is the dog that he picked up. And we kept it 15 days and nobody bailed him out, and so he's not around. So that way, we don't have to keep the dog there to preserve evidence, okay? So, under this provision, he would take a picture of the dog and he'd fill out a form, which I'm gonna make for him, that says, this is the dog, I picked him up this day at this time, the owner was so-and-so, and this is why he was picked up. He didn't have his tags, he bit somebody, he chased the chickens, whatever.
Okay. Who mandates the parish of Cameron to have animal control?
You don't have to have animal control.
Thank you, ma'am. That's
If you
the
want to, if
question.
you have animal
Been
control,
wanting to know for about 10 years.
It's just a service that we provide to our residents.
We do not
Like,
have
you don't have to pick up garbage.
Yeah.
You don't have to have water.
Thank you.
Hey,
Right.
hey, I got a statement. At the meeting we had, Lee, y'all brought me they gave me a state statute, and we have it also, we have it on file. That state statute says if the police jury has a dog ordinance or animal ordinance, they're in charge of animal control. The sheriff has the responsibility of livestock. The parish has the responsibility of dogs and cats.
But we
It
have
says
the
that in the state
Chair,
law.
can you give us
We
that
do
statute
have the
number, please?
We do have the responsibility to, or not to have animal control.
You have to eliminate your parish ordinance if you're not gonna have animal control, according to the state law.
That's been the long question. Everybody can tell me, no, you got, with Cameron Parish Police Jury, you gotta have animal control. We
I
do
understand.
not have to have animal control.
No,
I think we need to go ahead and, like Mr. Dupont said, and have a sidebar meeting with a few of the jury and the staff, and make sure that when we change this ordinance to clarify that, we make sure it's consistent with what
Yeah.
the state law is. And if, Chair, if you can give me that statute number that we can kind of review before our meeting, so when we're drafting everything, it's consistent. Because right now, the ordinance we have says that the sheriff's office is responsible for everything. And if that's not the state law, then we need to make sure we change all that.
now what they have to do under these here is they write the ticket. Okay, so the animal control officer, now actually the animal control officer can write that summons himself. But if you want the deputy to write the ticket, he calls the deputy writes the ticket.
We've been doing that for a long time, forever, where people think it is our responsibility. We've been taking the law enforcement in because we post certified. We also take the police jury calls on animal control because we 24/7 dispatch. So that's what we've been doing to help the police jury out and to work with the police jury. And to provide that law enforcement in, and also to provide the calls, the dispatch for your animal control guy and our deputies also, they both call the calls together.
Yeah. But, let's do that.
Yeah, let's have our meeting.
Let's have a meeting, because we'll sit here and go back and forth all day long about who's responsible. And I don't know what your schedule is, Jenny, if you look.
Today's the day, if y'all want to get together.
I have one question, Mr. Dupont. If you don't mind, I have one question. On this particular case of this animal that we're having, being it's already bit somebody, my question, maybe more to Miss Jenny possibly, if we rehome it and it bites somebody else, will we be responsible being that we let someone have this dog?
We have to say, we get a home farm, they're gonna have to sign something. I was told this dog bites, this
Yes.
dog has bitten somebody. So as long as you get it in writing, saying, we told him he bites.
Well, if today's gonna be a difficult day to have to meet, we can do it, when you get back. I mean, if you.
Oh, well, it's not a bad day for me. I can.
Well,
There's a lot of things that we need to get in order.
Everybody else got planned on this. You got time to have a meeting with Jenny and Katie this afternoon, and Mr. Lee Falk, he's the dog man?
There's a lot of things to consider that's not being considered. If you're gonna keep dogs for a long-term period of time, you're gonna have to upgrade the facilities you have. You cannot just get in pet adoption is a process.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, there are things that we gonna have to put in place in order to do that.
Don't we send our dogs to cops you after so many days?
No, sir,
No,
they
I
haven't
think-
taken them in about 2 years.
They won't take it.
They're actually
So
done,
what happens to the dogs if
They
they
are-
have to be, if they have to be put out?
they are put down. The dogs that, when no one takes them, or whenever their time is up, they are put down.
They are humanely euthanized.
Huh?
How are we doing?
I bring it to Jennings. We bring the dog to Jennings. We have someone that does it, and I called whenever Calcasieu stopped taking them. They're not taking ours, but they're not taking any other little parish around because they took everybody's. I called all the way to Beaumont, to Baton Rouge, trying to find somebody, and I found somebody in Jennings.
Okay, so that Jennings deal is just.
Put them down.
That's it, though?
Put 'em down.
There's no adoption process or anything? Okay.
Nobody would help us. I had a list of 15 people I called just in Calcasieu Parish.
And as long as we have animal control, if we don't have a ordinance that addresses something, state statutes should address it. And in the state statutes that were presented for vicious dogs or abused dogs, I don't think there was any provision, Jenny, that showed that we had to keep them longer than 30 days. Without a
It's
bond.
just the abused dogs.
I think it was with neglected dogs too. I mean, but
Well,
but a lot of the dogs we get are also
I think it's
nuisance
only for-
dogs.
You,
which are
well,
different.
I don't think that state statute covers the nuisance dog. I think it
No,
only covers.
and I think that's part of what we have to do.
Yeah,
Because
those
what-
who got a bond, you keep them 30 days, there's a whole.
I don't want to keep bringing up, but one of the,
Sheriff, can you meet with Jenny and Katie and try to come up with some kind of good ordinance for us after lunch or
Yes.
after the meeting?
When is your meeting, this afternoon?
2 o'clock.
Okay.
Now, when you take off for your grandma, who
Yeah.
will be, making your way?
Come and go. It'll get done.
Okay. Well, let's do that after this meeting, y'all get together, maybe come up with the, line together and give us something that we can work with on these dogs.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Being in this meeting with, if we did away with this ordinance, we don't have animal control. In the event you got a dog that bites somebody, you got evidence, who's responsible for it then?
Well,
If
are
we
you
don't
talking
have-
about a civil suit?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Do we have to house the dog then?
no, not for a civil suit. If you're not gonna, okay. See, it's two different things, like this child that was bitten a couple of weeks ago. Those people went on back, they were down there visiting, they're gone, they're not pursuing this as a civil matter. It's not your responsibility to preserve evidence in a civil case. If my neighbor's dog bites me, then, I'm just on my own to go provide enough proof if I want to sue for that. So,
So if it means the dog bit somebody, we don't have no ordinance.
it doesn't affect what we do.
Sheriff, fix it.
Means there's no criminal offense if you don't have an ordinance.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Now, the way they,
The whole thing in a nutshell, when we started this, it was a service to provide to the community for stray dogs. It was a cat and dog thing. Then we found out we can't do nothing with cats, so we eliminated that. But it's a service the jury decided to write an ordinance for. Now it's turned into, well, who's responsible for this, and who's responsible for that, and who's supposed to be doing this, and who's supposed to be doing that. And I'm saying that, in my opinion, this went way further than I can expect the jury to ever go there.
And when we got,
And we may need to even think about the service we're providing.
when we got
Whether
inspected
it's
by
even
the,
needed.
when we got inspected by the lady in Baton Rouge, she reminded us that we are a holding station. If we decide to keep them any longer than our 3 to 5 days, we're gonna probably have to upgrade, like Darrell was saying, the facility. I mean, we're not set up that way.
I think Katie is gonna go in that meeting in a minute. Katie knows all the things with Jenny and Ronnie and get us out of this thing that we're keeping them for 30 days. We're gonna keep them where we're supposed to keep them and get rid of them. I think it's a service to our community by having a dog ordinance. I mean, people do have problems with stray dogs or dogs in the yard and wanna get them picked up.
I agree with you.
I agree with you, and that's why the jury wrote this ordinance up. But now it's turned into some other kind of animal that we didn't.
That's why they're gonna go in this meeting. and
Yeah,
solve
but
the
as long
problem.
as we, sound like to me, as long as we got this ordinance, we're gonna get involved more and more and more. First thing you know, we're gonna have to spend money to build a big old complex, to house dogs that we didn't attempt, that we didn't have no
But can we,
desire to do.
I mean, can we modify this thing and not,
Yes.
and not get it
See,
at
the
that?
thing is that if you, I'm not here to tell you, you ought to have animal control, or you shouldn't have it. I mean, if you're gonna have animal control, this is what I come up with to fix it. So, if y'all are thinking about, we don't wanna have animal control at all, there's no point in working on this. I mean, I think you first need to decide, are we gonna have animals? Because if you're not,
I think she's right. I think we're gonna have to decide amongst us,
The
how
sheriff came,
far we gonna go with animal control? Are we just gonna deal with nuisance and, dogs? Or are we gonna go in the whole realm of where we involve ourselves with the courts and the district attorneys and the sheriff and hold animals and hold them for evidence and all of this? Are we wanting to go that direction, or do we just wanna have a nuisance?
I think that's what they're gonna discuss.
That's what they're gonna.
well, but
get
I can't make that decision
Well,
right now. And I will say, this was before Rita, of course, but, you know, you got a dog that keeps coming getting in your trash, you wanna call somebody to come get it.
We'll provide some different options for you guys.
Well, I think, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah,
and,
we'll have a
if
few
y'all can come up
different
with something
options.
that simplifies our dog nuisance here, we wanna do that. If we gotta go and we keep a dog for days and days and days, I don't think we wanna have a dog ordinance. I mean, it's something that it's a nuisance to the sheriff over here, messing with them on different things. If you just can pick them up, drop them off, we keep them 5 days or whatever, get rid of them, I don't think nobody has a problem with that. So if y'all can go in there and come up with some suggestions and come back with us, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir, we'll do that
Do it with
today.
you, Sheriff?
that's good, without a ordinance, the sheriff can't make an ordinance, I can't make a law, as the police jury can. But without we're glad to provide the law enforcement in, but we can't do that without an ordinance.
Yeah. So,
And my whole thing is not that I'm fighting not to have one. I'm just wanting to make sure we not, if we're gonna work ourselves up to the category of Lake Charles and Calhoun Parish, we're gonna have to spend a lot of money to get there.
But I want to say, while y'all are all here, that when you talk about you want to simplify it and we're not going to keep them more than 3 days, you can't be shooting anybody's dog unless you give them some notice and they got to have opportunity to be heard. So I put this thing in there about we got to have a hearing within 7 days and to try, if we can do this to where we don't keep them real long term, but I don't think there's a way to keep them more than 3 or 5 days. I mean, you know, what if, I remember one time when I was a little girl, there was a mad dog in the yard. You know, there was a dog with rabies. You need to be able to call somebody.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, I mean, we need to work on something where we got a dog ordinance.
Yeah.
Kaylee, why don't you call around to some similar parishes,
Okay.
in rural areas, see what they try and do, see what comes up with that while y'all, before you have your meeting, and you get a general idea of the rural parish.
Yes, sir.
And all requirements to housing though.
Yeah, that's really a whole separate thing. I don't know what all the requirements are to keep them more than 3 days.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna take care of that for us. and
Yes.
come up with
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
All right, before we go to UK, I got a green card from Joella Bott, want some stuff about, it's like Holly Beach, you want to come up and talk?
Good morning, I'm Joella Bott. I represent Holly Beach on the Cameron Parish Beachfront Development District 1. Holly Beach is growing. Holly Beach is the largest, most visited beach in Cameron Parish. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I need 3 things from you guys. I'd like to get a yield sign or a stop sign, preferably yield sign, at the corner of Pintail and Teal Street. It is the farthest most west street. If you're coming from Cameron on 82, it's the last street that you turn on. You turn left. There's grass that's 8 foot tall on the right. It's a blind spot. There's no yield sign on either street, and somebody's gonna get killed. People are coming in from Chenier, from Johnson Bayou, all that area. They get off the ferry coming from Cameron, you know, hauling behind to the beach, and we watch it every day that there's gonna be an accident. I think a yield sign would prevent that. It would slow people down coming off the ferry into Holly Beach. Second,
can I stop you?
yes, absolutely.
Is this on a corner of a public road?
It is Pintail Street, so this is Mud Lake, this is Holly Beach. Johnson Bayou is that way. This is all of the grass that is preventing you, when you come down Pintail Street, Teal Street is right here, you cannot see oncoming traffic on Teal Street. So if you had a yield sign or a stop sign, it would allow this traffic going south to at least stop or yield to look at the oncoming traffic from the west side.
Is it a stop sign on the west side?
There is no stop sign, right there.
So
You guys actually,
So you have an intersection with no control?
right. It's close to the one you'll put the four-way stop, but at that point, there is no control.
So we got an intersecting road with no control.
Right.
Why do we have an intersecting road, Ms. Road Superintendent, without a control?
Without changing it, I can't answer.
You need to. If we got an intersecting road, it has to have a control. One
Yeah,
way or the other.
Go check it out.
Two-way,
Okay.
yield sign, don't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit oversight, anything, just, you know, call over there and find out what's going on with it. If they need a.
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Let's get that done.
Thank you, thank you. Also, between Memorial weekends and Labor Day, so like we're talking about the 5 or 6 month period, right now, Holly Beach has been packed all summer. It's just unbelievable the amount of people that are coming. There is one toilet per entrance and say 100 people at one entrance. I'm asking you for a male and female portalette for each entrance to Holly Beach and at least 2 handicap toilets for Holly Beach, portalette toilets. We've worked with Coastal before, and I'd also like for them to be serviced twice a week instead of once a week. If you go to one of those portalettes with your little child and the sewage is up to the seat, it's just unbelievable. So where are they using the bathroom? They're using the bathroom in the water if the sewage is up to the seat.
Have you ever seen, been in one and the sewage is up to the?
Absolutely.
Really?
Totally. Yes, it's horrible. Horrible. And I'm not the only one. I mean,
I've never been in one like that.
yeah, well, have you been to Holly Beach for the 4th of July?
Huh?
You put 2 on Rutherford Beach, and the next day they were filled with fish.
Fish?
Fish.
Yeah.
And they painted
I
it.
don't know. No, just a little spot like a seine fish. Filled with them.
How many portlets we have?
6.
6 in Johnson Bayou?
Holly
How many you say you need?
I'd like 12, and I'd like 2 extra for handicap. I have handicap parents. I have brought my mom to Holly Beach, and she couldn't walk.
So you need this all summer or just around the holidays?
Between well, the thing with Coastal is, I mean, you don't want to have to be bringing them back and forth. It's going to actually cost you more money to bring them back and forth just for the holidays. If you left them for those months and just had them serviced twice a week, then they don't have to bring the portalettes back and forth. I think it's a
You can
similar.
still use the same amount of johns you have today.
I'm sorry?
You can still use the same amount of johns you have today.
Yes, sir.
Just increase it, your service, instead of doing it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just do it coming on the weekend, on Friday, prior to the events, and a Monday, and then you want to do the service again till Wednesday or Thursday for the event. Just increase your service, and you're gonna see the difference in them johns.
Well, that would work also. I'd appreciate the
Just
service.
increase your service, It's gonna get a little cheaper, than start putting 12 Johns, and you're gonna be servicing them 3 times a week anyhow. You service that what you have today, and you'll find out it works a little different.
So can I, and I'd really like to get the handicap toilets, because none of those are, unless you.
gotta have handicap.
Yeah,
You have to have handicap.
Okay,
Handicap, yeah.
Yes.
okay. All right, I
Yes.
really
You have-
appreciate
You
that.
have to, ma'am. You need at least 2 handicaps out
Yes,
there
sir.
somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you there 100%.
I appreciate that.
What is our service now?
We only have 6 and they only service them once a week. What happened was back when previous drawer was here, when we were trying to look at ways to save them money, like when we cut back with all the
Yes.
copiers and everything, we cut back in the summertime to only 6 portalets. And they had said at the time, if they needed more out there, that the beach board would need to see about paying to put their other ones out there. So that's why the police jury have only ever put 6 in the summertime. We've been doing that for the last couple of
And
years.
check your service. Your service is very important, and you can schedule your service. Now, I know they gotta cross the ferry, and I know that's gonna hamper with your service, but if you can schedule your service to accommodate what's going on.
Yeah.
We put extra on Rutherford Beach, we got them to come on Saturday or Sunday morning and serve it. The third Wednesday. You know, the same extra day. Working? We did nothing once.
Okay, we'll get you a couple handicaps
Okay, thank you very much.
there and try to get your service increased on what you got going on.
Thank you. And I have one more question
Okay.
about the dump. Holly Beach, this past Labor Day is the cleanest we've ever seen it. We put out 5 dumpsters, but people are still wanting to know, can they use the dump? I mean, I've heard different things from different people, including here. What is the correct answer? And if they can use the dump in the summer, can we put a sign and publicize that they can use the dump? I would still like to also put dumpsters from the beachfront development, because a lot of people can't use the dump after 5 o'clock, and a lot of people are cleaning the beach. But can they use the dump?
But the deal on that is, if you put that there, they be coming from Sulphur with their beds and their washing machines and come dumping.
That's a
I
long
know you want to
way.
let the people that camp out on the beach use the dump.
Right.
And that, but if you go publicize something like that, they be coming from Sulphur and Texas to come dump. You know, to have that going on the ground like right now, people coming from Lake Charles and just pouring trash on us. You know,
I'd like to review that, trash ordinance as far as, again, because we have a lot of renters coming in.
Once you open it up, anybody can.
Well, I'm just saying, they're renting, they're living here.
yes, it is, that's different,
So,
different ball.
and I'm not talking about weekend renters, I'm talking about people coming in, in the house and staying
Yeah.
for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They should be allowed to access. How can we delineate to allow them to do so and not open the door up for everybody?
Yeah.
And that's been a tricky answer, so like I
Yeah.
told you, we do need to review it.
Yeah.
See how-
William, is your dump open over there?
Yes, sir, it's open 7 days a week, and we've always accepted trash on Holly Beach. The problem is they never wanted to advertise because you have 9 other dumps that you don't just take in, because the dumps are made for residential trash. So Holly Beach, there was always a problem with advertisement. They didn't want it done.
Okay.
Okay, so if someone would come to the beach, I'm at the beach, and they say, what do I do with my trash? Can I tell them?
Yeah, we've
They
always
could bring
taken
it to the dump?
Mhm.
So there's no issue?
Not in Holly Beach. Holly Beach is the only one that they can do that at.
So if I go to, I'm a visitor, and I go to Mr. Dwight at the dump and say, hey, I want to dump my trash, and he's like, well, what's your address? And,
I've been here for 28 years, and I think I've gotten 2 complaints, and it was never Holly Beach about people not being able to throw their trash away.
Okay. So, but you don't
There's
want
no
it
white
public,
goods or nothing like that.
Mm-mm.
but you don't want it publicized, like on a Facebook page or anything like that, is that correct?
So like I said, we have people that be coming from Sulphur with a trailer, but y'all said we can dump, and then we dumping the trash from Sulphur. You know, the little trash they're gonna create on the beach, spending the weekend or whatever, it's not gonna be what you bags.
Okay.
You know, but when you come with a trailer load of trash, they spend the weekend on the beach.
You publicize, so he's actually right. You publicize, it's okay to dump. They'll bring their trash to the beach with them when they come.
Yeah.
And they'll go to the dump first, and then they'll go to the beach.
So that nice and run the beach tonight, we have 18 yards, somebody who campaigning the whole thing was hazardous.
Yeah.
And it's burning, so that's why we don't have 18 yards.
Well, the-
Small.
I'll continue to
Well,
put,
I'll tell you what, you go to the beach with it, bring it home.
yeah, well, good luck with that. I agree with you 100%.
Bring it home. They like to leave it for you.
At the end of the day, though, the dumpsters worked on the beach. I will continue to put them with the beachfront development because it's the cleanest we've ever seen the beach.
Good.
And we will tell people on the beach that they can use the dump.
Now, we have a problem too, people don't know what a full dumpster is.
That's why I put
And,
five this time.
waste management, now the other people we had Southern, they would come down with a dumpster and pick up, with an empty dumpster and pick up everything that didn't fit. Waste management just picks the dumpster up and go, that's it.
Anyway, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, all right, let's go to number 8. Katie, you want to talk financial update?
And this isn't gonna be in-depth, this is just gonna be something new we're gonna do from now on, just kind of give you a little 5-second preview of the revenues for the month and the expenditures for the month, and where your surplus funds are. So, and I've only focused on our funds that you directly manage, just the general fund is the main one. To date, from January through July, we've received $3.9 million in revenues, and we have $2.6 million in expenditures. We have $300,000 that we've transferred out to either Road and Bridge or our criminal court fund that operate at a deficit. And so as of today, you have a $12.9 million surplus. And I can go through all the other funds. I can tell you Road, Bridge, and criminal court always operate at a deficit, so there's not going to be any surplus funds to talk about. Our courthouse and jail, we have a $2 million surplus. We are over our revenue amount, mainly because you allocated funds to finish the courthouse renovations that weren't funded through our CDBG grant. Health unit is not as scary as it looks. I know we only got $691 in revenue, but that's because you didn't levy a tax for that maintenance tax this year. You were trying to give all your taxpayers a break and roll back your millages. So we're gonna continue to eat into our surplus funds until we need to go ahead and levy a new tax. Or, well, not levy it, just renew the tax. And then the last one, parish-wide waste maintenance. You have a $2.9 million surplus. So far, you have $1.9 million in revenue for the year, and you've expended $1 million. You'll probably, projected right now, bank about a $200,000 surplus at the end of the year. So I will go ahead and formally notify you that we will have our first budget meeting next month. We'll schedule it, I'll get with Mary and Daryl to schedule it sometime between the agenda meeting and the voting meeting. I know we'll probably have a board review meeting. So we'll try and make sure it's scheduled at a time that'll give you guys a good 45-minute in-depth meeting of where we are right now financially with our budget and what you guys want the next year's budget to look like. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just reiterate to all our departments that we're fixing to, y'all need to notify all your departments that we're fixing to do budget, so they need to get all their, and get all their stuff done for as, what they call it?
Evaluations.
Evaluations, Emily, there you go. Make sure that's all turned in a timely manner, so that we're not in a situation like we once was years back, where we're, doing evaluations after budget. Evaluations is part of the budget. So let's get it ahead and do it when it's supposed to be done, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Katie, one thing, I know we done the budget, you got this on update, and we fix to go somewhere else in the agenda. Can you give the jury a quick run-up on the capital projects?
Oh, yes, capital outlay.
Capital outlay money, please?
Yes. November 1st, our capital outlay applications are going to be due. That is the applications we submit to the state every year for consideration for capital outlay funds. The only time we've ever been awarded money was for our Holly Beach sewer project. We have submitted the applications for our Grand Lake Rec that we want to build, and then improvements to Highway 27 in Hackberry and in Creel. Those applications have been submitted for the last 4 years in a row. Hopefully, we're making some traction there. We're gonna start working on it. I am attending something on Tuesday morning about the capital outlay. Hoping that maybe we'll get a little bit more consideration on our projects if we're more involved in all the trainings that are going on right now. So, the next meeting, I will get permission from you guys to submit applications. We are sending out emails, and if there's any other projects that we might want to submit, we'll draft applications for your review next month, and we'll submit it by November 1st.
Were you having a meeting with, you said you were going to have a meeting?
With the state staff in Baton Rouge. They're the ones that help you with your, they give you the information, help you draft your support letters, and hopefully give us some advice on how to improve our applications.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Okay,
I don't have anything, but I think Rika needs to add something. Sir?
Could we put beach erosion on?
I can definitely ask Tuesday if that's gonna be considered as a capital outlay project, if it qualifies. And I'll get back with you about it.
Okay.
I do think Rika has something to run by you guys to hopefully add to the voting agenda this afternoon.
So I appreciate what the, come get.
You get to come up here.
Never really wanted to sit up here, but here I am. I put a little packet at your computers. Louisiana Watershed Initiative finally established watershed regions throughout Louisiana. We are split. We are in Region 4 and also Region 5. I would like to add to the agenda, or you guys add to the agenda, a resolution of support for Louisiana Watershed Regions 4 and 5, and President authority to sign Phase 1 letter of interest for both of these regions. That letter is due October 1st, and so this will be the meeting that we would need to put it on. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. How did they come up with this?
That's a really good question. Surveys were given, and
The watershed, usually, we already have that problem with the Corps of Engineers when it comes to this Spring River. But now the Corps of Engineers saw that they can't manage one side, not both sides. So they moved their line all the way, probably, 30 miles inside to the Long Beach area, where their line, they go in and the New Orleans takes over. How come they didn't see that there? You've got two sides of the river, you got two different people trying to control it.
this was a very hot topic with this organization, and
I'd like to know their thinking on how they come up with that. Did they use like a cow shoe in the Sabine to justify?
when they first came out with these, Region 5 was a little, Region 4's, that boundary to the right, or to the east, was a little further, and it included some of the Mermentau, and so that line kind of bounced back and forth, and it ended where it did. I would love to get some of your answers too.
To be truthful, on the east side of the Council Lake, that is controlled by, a big majority of it is controlled by the intercoastal waterway. And, and the intercoastal runs from one end of the state to the other end of the state. And from that lock back east, it controls a lot of groundwater.
I mean, if you even look at Region 5, you have two watersheds, you have Mermentau and you have Tesh-Vermilion. I mean, that's a big region there too, so.
Being in two regions, we get a chance. We have a better chance of getting money.
Yes.
Being in two regions.
And I know one of you guys had questions about that, so this is for grant applications. This is the Phase 1, is to submit the letter. We, Cameron Parish, cannot just submit a grant application. The entire region has to submit to LWI. So it is to make Louisiana work and realize that waters have no boundaries. They're trying to do regional, and
things like that, so.
So when we put a grant in, we put a grant in at 4 and 5, same grant.
Possibly,
now.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
But the region
But you're
has.
competing for projects within that region.
But I mean, there's a double chance there's a chance we might be able to get one.
The region gets it. The region, 9 parishes and 16 parishes.
Yeah, Region 4 has 9 parishes and Region 5 has 16 parishes together, so we have to work as a team to get one application approved.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, any more questions from the speaker? All right.
So we need to add that, or y'all good with adding that to the agenda this afternoon?
Yeah. Okay, let's review our agenda.
Carabette,
Yes.
this permit Creo for Elton Hansel, the drainage board's good with all this?
Yeah, this has been in existence since early
Is this a-
80s, so he's just recapping maintenance. The ditches are existing, the borrow sites. So,
And this little pecan cattle?
Little Pecan Cattle is gonna be an after-the-fact permit application, as you all are aware. It's about the discharge pipe installed.
I know all about it.
So, anyway, I would recommend that you guys table it on the voting meeting pending the gravity drainage, and it also has to run a public comment period for 30 days, so it's my recommendation.
Okay.
Which one?
C,
Little pecan cattle. And then number 9, all this language for flood damage prevention ordinance.
Read it, yes, it's pretty good.
so the main change within the flood damage prevention ordinance, under section 735C, it reads, in addition, the parish may seek to enjoin the occupancy or use of any building or structure which has, without compliance with this chapter, been in whole or in part constructed, enlarged, altered, repaired, moved, demolished, or the occupancy changed, for which the electrical, gas, mechanical, or plumbing system has been erected, enlarged, installed, altered, repaired, removed, converted, or replaced in any fashion. This is an enforcement mechanism that is already in place within our building code and permit ordinance. We just want it to be within our flood damage as well. It doesn't mean this has to be implemented, but the fine is still $500, and also added is, in addition, the applicant or owner who fails to comply shall pay all expenses incurred by the parish for inspections and any court costs involved in prosecution of such case.
So they're gonna be paying anytime y'all went out for an inspection, or whoever proposed your inspection, they're responsible for it.
Yes. And they're responsible for court costs. If the judge orders court costs of $500, they're responsible for that. That court costs and any other inspections incurred by the parish. So.
Is this mandatory, or can a judge take this away? I mean, reduce it, or is it a full charge?
No, it's it can be reduced. It's not more than $500.
What about the 13, 16 delineation? Any changes on that?
The section 1316s, so we were contacted by FEMA Region 6, that the FEMA headquarters in Washington had contacted Region 6 and questioned the number of section 1316s that the parish has been issuing. So they had some concerns with that and just wanted to call. And as far as I'm aware, FEMA Region 6 had responded to them that they're following their ordinance. It's a section that is used that the NFIP can still provide communities assistance
give flood insurance. It's just a way that you implement this once you exhaust all means within your ordinance.
But no
And
changes?
the structure is still non-compliant.
No changes?
No changes,
Okay, okay.
no, sir. They haven't said you cannot issue any more 1316s.
They have not.
We have not been told that or received any correspondence from them.
Are we still issuing any of those?
So we had another court date scheduled on September 30th. I think it was 12 to 15 properties. And we have met with them individually, with the district attorney, and trying to get a plan of action in place for these individuals to make an effort to elevate. We're allowing them time, and from the meetings, most of them are going to comply. It's just gonna take them some time.
And we're giving them that.
And we are,
time.
yes,
We're not just going up there, hey, you got 2 days to do it or you gotta get off.
correct.
We're giving them time. If they're showing progress that they are doing something,
We will work with them.
we'll work with them to do this.
That's right.
Now, 3 months go by and you go back and they haven't done nothing, then, we're gonna process with the court to do something else with it.
That's right.
What about the 13, 16, once they've got that delineation, can they build a structure on there? They still have to get a permit. They still have to be in code, correct? Or are they not allowed to do anything?
So section 1316, you already have a structure on the property. That is non-compliant.
It's already there. Okay, so we're talking about existing structures before 2005.
No, we are talking about existing structures, any structure that is non-compliant right now,
So I can go build a structure.
that we identify.
I can go build a structure, then I can file for 13C. That's what you're saying?
You can't file for 1316.
No.
The 1316 is recommended by the floodplain administrator. If all exhaust of your ordinance has been taken and the structure is still
And
non-compliant.
we're issuing them only when?
It's on a case-by-case basis.
And how many a year have we been doing?
Since 2009, we have issued 14 structures.
14, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Tom, that's why we have this discussion. Okay, but I heard some noise about it, so I wanted to ask a question and discuss it.
Right.
We got all the issues.
Any other questions? Everybody good?
Go ahead.
I guess it's gonna be the watershed initiative, I believe that's it.
Okay.
Was there anything else, y'all?
Katie,
I think
anything else?
that's it, huh?
Emily?
I don't have many add-ons. I just wanted to make sure that you were, say at least in a public meeting for this morning, that we are requesting to close the office for September 24th between the hours of 8 and 12. That way the staff can attend the courthouse dedication ceremony. And we encourage everyone to attend and invite the public to attend with us, please.
So you got it on the agenda this afternoon, but vote on it, so.
Okay. All right, that's it then. We're gonna adjourn.